Hello, I'm Jordan Williams, and I was in charge of doing project one of the final with my partner Cooper Stearns. And I chose to do lab one and to make a GUI for it. Here is the starting page. This is what it looks like when we first open it. And I couldn't find a text box where it had background text, so you have to delete this. But you can enter numbers and letters, but letters don't work, only accepts 4 digits. And if someone has already done it, or the numbers are recorded, says this user has already voted, but I use one that hasn't been used, it will work. I have it automatically on cancel, so then I wouldn't have to do another error. So you can go back and forth, saves your number, you can vote. Then the results page shows total, complete total, and user ID. And after 5 seconds, it goes back to the vote menu and everything is reset. You can vote again. Everything's here. Shows up your user ID. And there's an exit. Exit button does kind of the same thing what voting does. It just shows the results. But since no user ID was inputted, there's no user ID. That is it for the GUI. My code, I have exceptions for if the file isn't there or anything else. If there's any other errors. I have errors for the 4-digit user ID for if you don't have numbers, if it's not 4 digits, and if it's already been used. And I have my inputs saved on a CSV. It checks the CSV for the user ID, and then the vote. 1's for John, 2's for Jane, and the results page shows results, has this 5-second timer here. The 5-second timer I discovered was a Qt function. I had to look that up. I found it, thought it was very cool to use because Cooper suggested that I make it automatically go back. So I added a timer, makes it go back to the vote menu, and then you can vote again. Everything is reset after you go back through. At the progress meeting, you said that my GUI Python file was edited and it should not have been edited. So I went back into Qt and I redid that. I made my UI file. It's all here. It's really big. And I converted it to Python. I've not edited this. This is correct now. And you said that I should meet the minimum requirements. I did that. I added the user ID. I added the CSV to keep track of the user ID. And I took the suggestion of making radio buttons instead of having a user input with text. I did have a lot of challenges setting up Qt, just getting it installed. I had to reinstall it, and I struggled a bit with installing it. I had to use a few different methods. I got it all set up. I used it. I converted it to Python. There was no errors this time at the progress meeting. I mentioned that when I converted it, it had some visual errors where the letters were cut off and it wasn't looking right. This time it's working, it's all fixed. I did learn some new concepts like the timer. I did not know the timer was a thing, and the timer came pretty handy with waiting to return to the vote menu. And I did learn that, well, I learned how to set the radio buttons to true or false instead of just clearing them. And I did have a bit of issues with the CSV. It would save, but it wouldn't load. So the list or the dictionary was pretty helpful with the user ID and their respective value. It was pretty helpful. Cooper did help me a little bit by going through and suggesting anything that I should use, anything I should change, anything that I could add if I wanted to. Like he suggested I add the 5 seconds to be automatic. He um, told me that I should probably add more comments to say what's going on because I was the only one who knew where everything was. Um, he made sure that I had all of my doc strings, I had everything returning a value, and made sure everything was working. Um, I do appreciate how people who use Qt, how they have to actually have some knowledge to use it. I do not like Qt, I would rather use Tkinter, but the drag and drop was pretty helpful and made things easy, but I do prefer Tkinter. Um, Overall, I did I did like this. This was it was a little fun to do, making the GUI for it, and then going through and fixing all the errors was satisfying to see it finally work. And I like how this turned out. And Cooper was pretty helpful. I did help Cooper too when he needed it, but mostly on the GUI because eh, he told me he was not the greatest, but he figured it out with a little bit of my help. But this is my part, and that is it.
Okie dokie. I'm Cooper. I was in charge of making part two. I didn't have any. I mean, I guess I did help a little bit with part one, just basically, um, making like talking to Jordan about like if he remembered to do this, if he remembered to do that. He asked me a couple questions on what I thought he should do. Um, and that's all I did on part one. I didn't do any programming or anything. I was basically just a consultant. Part two is basically the same thing. I asked for Jordan help on the GUI, setting that up. He helped with that. And yeah, so basically I made a music player. Yeah, so I made a music player, plays music, open it, and then in order for it to work or do whatever you want, you select the song, hit play. Wow, that's loud. Um, yeah, that should be good. And then you can pause it, play it. It picks up back where it was paused. You can stop the music, and then to start again, just hit play again. You can skip through songs. You can go back. You can use this to skip through the song to wherever you want. And then let's find a quieter song. You can, when it gets to the end, it then automatically goes to the next song. Um, Play, pause, yep. And then the scrolling, it scrolls. You can select any of these. Um, all these play. Um, so yeah, that's how all that works. Feedback, I was given warning on over reliance on AI. Um, I think I just came across as using too much AI. I know here I was questioned on like where it calls back to the play thing, and the reason why I did take a while to respond. Part of the problem was um, the question caught me off guard. I had to like refocus my brain. Then I started second guessing myself, and then my stutter started not letting me talk. What was that? Why did my keyboard just disconnect? Sorry. So my stutter was starting to make me not be able to talk. I did go through and make sure I was very specific on where, when, and how I used AI, how much AI I used. Let's see. Another feedback thing was renaming the music to actually look good. I got rid of like 90% of the songs and renamed a bunch of them. Basically, I just wanted to be able to show off the scrolling mechanic. That was about it. This is my own original idea. I didn't take it from anybody else. On the design, I did look at like different MP3 players, old iPod, music players in general, just to figure out how I wanted it to look. Um, and yeah, that's all I got from outside inspiration. You could say, but it was my own idea. New concepts I learned. I learned how to implement VLC in Python, how to let Python play music through VLC. Basically, you need to have VLC installed, obviously, and then you need a Python .vlc installed on your computer to run it. And those are both separate things that you need to download. I put it in the requirements. I don't know why this is colored weird. I think it's just a Visual Studio Code thing. As soon as I change the name, it goes back to normal. So I think it's just a Visual Studio Code thing. I got a how to use thing here. Challenges I encountered. Getting the music to play. That was a big one. Playing, pausing. The pause button didn't work for a while. It just stopped the music altogether. Couldn't figure out why. Volume was something that was a problem. It wasn't changing, and it turned out. So the way I set it up myself, I was looking from 0 to 100, and it didn't like that. And I looked it up, and an AI suggested to just go from 0 to 1, and suggested how to set it up. I did. What did I change about this? I changed something about this. I can't remember what now. But theirs was quite a bit longer, I believe. But yeah, I basically did that. It suggested 0 to 1 instead of 0 to 100. And yeah, that worked out well. Now it works. And then another thing was the what was the progress bar? It's problems I had were, oh crap, that's the wrong file. Basically, instead of letting me just drag and then letting go, it would constantly want to jump back to where it was, and then it wouldn't actually play at where it was. And then, when I first implemented it, every time this would jump along with the time, it would like cut the music weird. It would jump through the music. That was a decently easy fix. How did I address that? Now I can't remember how I fixed it. Um, I can't remember how I fixed it, but I fixed it. I think it was one of those things where I just changed when it was being updated, or changed how the um, slider was being moved. Concepts and development process. Um, Basically planning ahead. That's one thing that this project has helped me understand the importance of and appreciate is planning ahead, because it was a lot of back and forth working in circles because I didn't have like a distinct plan of what I wanted yet, so I was just kind of going with what I thought sounded cool, what I thought I wanted, um, working in circles. If I had a plan, I would have been able to make all three files and then go. I know I was asked why I was initializing this um, here instead of initializing it here. And that was because I made this file first, because in my mind I was like, well, I want a music player. What do I want it to do? I want it to play music, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. That was probably not the best idea. I should have mapped out a plan. Um, and yeah, that was my part.